All right, fellas. Welcome to Mint Map Spaces on this beautiful Friday evening or morning, depending on where you live. Feels like we haven't been talking for a while, probably because we were not able to record a podcast this week. But yeah, I think we got plenty of stuff to talk about. Jason, man, how are you?
Doing well, man. Yourself?
Yeah, same. Have you gotten over the dump? I mean, when we last week when we had spaces, we actually had a mint, and speaking a lot about the collection and everything, so we hadn't had time to speak about the crypto world a lot. So we basically missed the whole dump. So how did you witness it?
Um, I spent money, man. Every time there's a sale on, I back up the truck, like just like always. There's no real secrets in terms of what I'm looking at. So yeah, it was a good buying opportunity for me. So I just added to my Bitcoin collection a little bit more. How about you?
Yeah, same, man. I mean, at the first time when it dumped, it went pretty down pretty hard. I think Bitcoin went to 49, and it actually bounced back to I think 60, and is now somewhere around 58. So still a very good opportunity to buy. I did buy a lot. But have you actually what do you think was the reason?
There's a few reasons actually. There's been a lot of weak economic data. And so I guess before we jump into this, I'll just say hello and what's up to everybody. We've got a few people joining us. What's up? Guest user 17. Alex, good to see you, bud. Rob, Johnny, Julian, all you guys. Good to see you guys back. Yeah, so let's jump into what's going on in the market. So we had a lot of weak economic data out of the US. We had a really poor jobs report. We had, let's see, what was the other thing that we had? We had, what was the other thing? The jobs report came out that wasn't that great, and I forget what the other thing was. There was something else that was kind of key, um, and can't remember what it was all of a sudden. But anyway, there were a couple different reports that came out that were negative that basically point to like the U.S. Stock market not doing well. But then the biggest thing was the yen carry trade. It was also unwinding. And if you're not sure what that is, what that means is in Japan, interest rates have been basically near zero for almost 2 decades now. And the Japanese have been printing money like crazy for since like the early 90s, basically. So what a lot of high net worth investors will do is they will borrow in Japanese yen because they're capable, because they're able of doing that, and then they will reinvest the money in a higher yielding currency, in higher yielding assets, and then they'll pay the debt back with the arbitrage or the carry between the two. And so that trade began to unwind as well because, again, of recession fears. So you had this massive unwinding of the Japanese carry trade, this really poor jobs report, and whatever this other thing was, which I can't remember for some reason, all kind of hit at the same time. And so everyone with money in the market obviously started to restructure their holdings. And then, of course, now that Bitcoin is part of the larger market, it's also being played like a risk asset. So you're going to see these types of moves when the broader market moves. You're going to see Bitcoin move in relation to it. So that's basically what happened in a nutshell. And we had, I think, a 15% pullback, around 15%, which for me was a fantastic buying opportunity. So I just, as it started falling, I just started buying a little bit by little bit.
What I read the first time today is the story about Jump Crypto. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they seem to be a big part of the dump as well. They are actually one of the biggest market makers, and they shifted hundreds of millions of crypto to exchanges. I think even like over 120K ETH, and yeah, it seemed like they actually like stepped back from the crypto markets, And I think a couple of weeks ago, the CEO stepped back following CFTC investigation. They had some legal challenges and issues. And what I also read is that they were heavily involved in, or that they were heavily involved in the development of Solana. For example, they launched a 1 million bug bounty program for someone creating a client for the Fire Dancer upgrade. And now I see a lot of people like worrying about Solana and the upgrade, you know. I don't know. Have you read about that?
I couldn't quite make out the name of the company that you said. What was the name of it again?
It's called Jump Crypto. I
Okay.
actually read about them for the first time as well, and I was like, how did I miss that? You know, like the news pages were full of it, like the mainstream media, but I haven't really seen a lot about that on X.
No, not really. I don't really care what happens with Ethereum. I don't think Ethereum really moves the market, but I feel like at the end of the day, like all of these things at the end of the day are just opportunities to buy. Again, so long as the broader story stays intact. So if Jump Crypto or whomever is moving ETH to an exchange, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care because the adoption's continuing. So if we're aware of that and we know about that, then it's just another good opportunity to buy. I don't know that I mean, being that they are an exchange and they moved, you said millions of Ethereum. I'll just see here.
Not only Ethereum, basically like hundreds of millions of crypto, and like Ethereum was part of it.
Okay. And Ethereum, I'm assuming was their biggest holding or no?
I'm not sure about that. What I digged into was basically like their involvement in like the Solana development, and then I read a lot about like that 1 million bug bounty program, and that they were actually like a big part of the Fire Dancer upgrade, and that's why people were worried about.
Okay, yeah, I see an article on this right now. Let's just see what the numbers are because that really kind of tells the tale. Let's see, Jump Crypto, blah blah blah. Mm, 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 mm. Does it give numbers? Let's see. I'm just looking at an article right now, so bear with me for a second. Where am I?
It's all good, but it's so interesting that like as I just mentioned, like you couldn't really see a lot about that on X, and usually like whenever like the smallest news are coming out, like people are jumping on it and keep like reposting everything. So I was quite surprised as well.
Okay, yeah. They're talking about the ETH holdings here. Looks like they moved they moved ETH from a cold wallet to a hot wallet, and then they basically still hold $130 million worth of staked ETH. So I'm not really sure that that's something to fear. Um, that's just kind of how I'm looking at it. But I mean, if they're sitting on 130 million in staked ETH, and it takes, I mean, what does it take? 4 or 5 days to unstake ETH now, or longer? It takes a while to unstake it. I mean, that right there doesn't tell me they're all that terrified. But yeah, I mean, they might just be planning to do some trades. Who knows? Um, and if they're in Solana development with Solana coming up, it could be that they want to swap into some Solana. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you could read this, especially if they're in the Fire Dancer, if they're involved with Fire Dancer. But yeah, I mean, people look for the slightest little things to move money around, right? So it could be any of those reasons, could be positive, could be negative. We won't know until we get more details, I think, on this particular activity. I think the broader
Yeah,
markets are the bigger story, but who knows? We'll see what happens.
yeah. I mean, it's great that blockchain data shows everything, but what they actually did is they unstaked 315 million of ETH and had it these two like exchanges, and they are still holding what you said, like 125 million of staked ETH.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Yeah, it will. Yeah, you're right. 300 exactly. I'm not seeing anything outside of that. I mean, that's a real big stretch, when you think about someone moving money from wallet to wallet, because I mean, there's a lot of reasons to do that. So I'm not sure that that's really a reason to panic. Um, I think with the broader markets, and this happening similarly along similar lines. Actually, the jump crypto thing actually happened. Let's see, it looks like this was back on like August 3rd or 4th. So this was way back in the last little pullback, I believe, because we had
Yeah,
two major.
definitely. Yeah, I think the article that I read was from like August 5th. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing to worry about probably, but like the degens, like one like wrong tweet from Elon Musk and people go crazy.
Well, I mean, that's the nature of the market. Like anytime someone has the ability to influence, right, the all of the people who are short-term thinking are basically going to jump on that. And I see this as one of those things, right? Like it's a short-term opportunity if you're a long-term holder, and it's long-term fear if you're a short-term holder. I mean, that's just the way it is. So if your time horizon is more than the next few months, then you're fine, right? You just need to continue to acquire. I mean, even with the ETH news, like it's not really bullish news that they move ETH to from cold storage to hot wallets or from staking to hot wallets. All that does though is just make the token tradable. It doesn't mean that they're going to dump it. So, I mean, they could be working on another business deal. Who knows? I mean, we won't know until some more news comes out about it. But I think jumping it's a little bit premature to jump the gun on like assuming that the move is a negative thing.
Yeah, definitely. Jumping like quickly into U.S. politics because I haven't really seen anything from it. Have you followed the Trump Musk live stream? Have they actually even talked about crypto or anything?
I didn't watch it, man. I just was watching the memes afterwards because the memes were probably the best part. And I can almost guarantee that nothing new has been said. With an election, with it being an election year, I'm sure everyone's watching their words. Um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, I haven't really seen or heard anything drastic come out of the camp. I think the biggest thing from the Musk Trump spaces was that Trump was back on Twitter and being active on Twitter. I think it was more of like a welcoming him, back to the timeline kind of a thing, more so than anything. And then, of course, Elon reached out and invited Kamala to speak as well to keep everything balanced. And I don't think she accepted the opportunity. But that's really the only two things I heard from that. And then probably the best meme that I've seen in a while came out. It was like Elon Musk and Donald Trump dancing together. I don't know if you saw that. It was pretty freaking hilarious. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think even Elon and Donald Trump both posted it, and I think Elon wrote like haters will say it's AI. Yeah, I like that as well. I saw that there are a lot of different versions of it, like in the comments with different music and everything. It was definitely pretty funny.
Yeah, it was, man. It was pretty good, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, as far as that's concerned, like for me, that's like the best part of it. Just the sheer comedy of the situation and how much people just clutch their pearls and lose their shit over stuff like this happening. So everybody, you just can't please people, right? Like, and if you're one of these people who is, extremely left leaning or extremely right leaning, then everything that happens is a big deal. And I'm just kind of in the middle watching, going, okay, well, what's the actual implication of this? Like, if there's a real implication, I'm concerned. But if it's he said, she said, or this person criticizing that person, or what, I don't really care. Like, I care about the policy and I care about the philosophy behind it, and the rest of it is just, like it's just meat for the masses, right? It's like throwing meat to the wolves to give them something to argue and scrap and fight about. So I think mostly it's just nothing, in the grand scheme of things. But it is kind of funny to see how much people respond to stuff like this, and it really points to how mimetic society is and how these little ideas take people over. So, I mean, aside from it being an interesting psychology experiment, man, I'm not really, I'm not really too sure what to say about it other than, hey, let's see some better memes.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I'm curious to see how all that evolves, and like I saw that Elon Musk got a lot of like bad feedback on that. I think X did pretty bad, like on that Spaces hosting that. I saw that they actually wanted to have a video space, but I think Elon claimed that they had some kind of DDoS attack, and yeah, they were just able to have like a voice, like a normal voice space, and yeah, I think I heard that Donald sounded pretty weird, and yeah, gotta probably listen back to that. But from the feedback on X, there wasn't like a lot of interesting stuff that they talked about. And if people go and talk about the quality, like most of the people just talk about the quality of the spaces, it looks like the content wasn't as interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just sending an invite to Spaces to someone. So drop by and join us. Yeah, I'm on. I mean, politics is what it is, and of course, this year is going to be a little bit nuts. Um, being that that's the case, with it being like the year of the halving, with it being an election year, with it being um, I think we're at the point in the inflation cycle where we're entering that hockey stick up curve for currency creation. We've already seen it. We've seen more money created in the last year or two than has ever existed in all countries throughout history if you add them all up together. And on some level, people are scared. When you see your grocery bill rise, when you see like so many problems in the market, I saw a couple friends of mine on the Facebook timeline got laid off. When these things start to happen, people start to get really fearful, and anything that happens in the markets, whether it's minor or major, will impact them. Because you have to remember, like where we are in the world of money and psychology is that governments across the world have taught people that the future is something they should discount. In other words, it's not something that they should really value. They should value the now. And the reason that governments have done this is so that they could pay off, all of these massive programs and social programs and spending programs and fat business contracts that they've acquired over these years to either reward one another or to buy votes, right? And so this has been the genesis of all this money printing over the last probably 40 to 50 years. It's gotten really bad. And so when you look at that and you realize that the value of your money is shrinking, like what your purchasing power is shrinking, then it makes you think really hard about, all right, well, now I need to worry about tomorrow. I can't just worry about today because it's harder to borrow money. My credit cards are maxed out. My job is in jeopardy. You can't just live for the moment. Now all of a sudden you have to start thinking about the future. And it scares people because most people aren't thinking about the future. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. They have a couple $100 in their accounts. And, the slightest little interruption to their supply of cash is going to create a massive, massive problem in their lives. And this is something we should be sensitive to. And, this is one of the promises of crypto that, we can actually build long-term value, long-ranging value. And, this is part of the reason that we're fighting against the degeneracy that we see because there's so many false promises, telling people you can get rich now, and desperate people will believe this stuff, right? So when you add up all the money printing that government has done over the years and you look at what it's incentivized, it has only incentivized people to live for the now and spend what they make because the money that they save is perpetually being devalued. So now we're going into a time in history where value creation is going to matter because the money printing is almost at an end. And if that's the case, then when we get to this place where no more money can be printed or the money that's being printed only inflates away your purchasing power at a greater rate, then you're forced to start thinking about, okay, where is future value going to come from? And so it makes you want to sell all of your shit assets. It makes you not necessarily want to work a job. It makes you start thinking about business, start thinking about investments. But but to get to that point, you have to go through that place of worry. And right now, people are, I think, beginning to enter that place of worry because they're starting to see some of these effects. And at least that's kind of what I'm seeing in, parts of the US from some of the people that I speak to and some of the comments that I'm seeing online. And, obviously in in anecdotal stories where I can tell you that people are concerned for their employment because they're seeing their businesses slow down. So these are all the result of money printing, leftist politics, and constant payouts and constant promises that can't be kept. So what do you do? Well, there's really only one thing you can do, and that is protect yourself with things that are going to hold real value. The stock market is not going to be it traditionally. Real estate is probably not going to be it, given that the baby boomers are retiring at a rate of 10,000 per day for the next 10 years, and they're not going to want to hold on to their big houses and their second houses and their third houses. They're going to want to start selling all that. And because their kids don't have as much, the kids aren't going to want to hold the houses, so they're going to want to sell the houses. So I think you're going to see a big drop in home ownership, and that's going to shift a huge wave of financial sort of turmoil through the markets because, again, the banking system is predicated on people borrowing money to buy homes. That's basically how the banking system is set up. And this is one of the big reasons that the last crash was so devastating because all of the banks who lent money on mortgages, try to create these tertiary products on top of them. So none of that's going to be possible. And so we're going to have a massive restructuring. And I think crypto is really your only way out. You know, it really is. So, I mean, that's how I'm looking at the world. And as long as adoption continues, when we have a pullback for any reason, whether it's, this company, whatever it was called, um, Jump Crypto moving Ethereum, or whether it's this fear because of the markets, or this massive fear because the yen carry trade is unwinding and people are raising cash. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to use that as an opportunity to buy more of quality assets. And so for me in the crypto world, that's our crypto projects. That's Goodfellas, that's Bitcoin, that is Solana, and until the story changes, my purchasing patterns aren't going to change.
Yeah, man, we've talked about that so many times, and talking about holding value, there is another statistics that I saw that was quite interesting, and it was basically stating that so many new cryptocurrencies are showing up every day, not just meme coins, but also like utility projects. And I stumbled up on a project that was basically like building a new layer one chain, and it's been claiming to have like the fastest transactions, like almost no fees. You can create smart contracts, NFTs, blah, blah, blah. And the funny thing was that the first comment was basically saying, like, that's cool, guys, but there's no need for you. And I felt like that was like very much on point, because so many chains coming up and trying to copy what like Solana does. And how can someone think that you can do better than them? Like they have a market cap of 60 billion, they have the best devs, they have a huge budget, and projects still come up without like new ideas. Like what's your opinion on that? Do you feel like there's still space for so many other chains?
I mean, no, not really. At the end of the day, this happens in every new technology. And maybe before I launch into this, I just want to welcome Caden. Welcome, Caden. I know you had popped into my timeline and had a couple questions, and we're talking a little bit about NFT value creation. We're going to get to that, buddy. So I tossed you the mic. If you want to introduce yourself and say hello, feel free. You're more than welcome to. And we could talk a little bit about what's happening in the NFT world. I know that I think if I remember correctly, we've been in a few spaces together, and I think it was you and maybe your son are doing some really cool things. But feel free to accept that invitation or request a mic, and we'll catch up. So back to your question. So what happens in these markets, Bud, is anytime you have something new happen, like whatever the case may be, pick an industry, pick a technology, pick a part of the world, pick any business. It doesn't really matter. Where opportunity happens, people flock to it. Okay, so right now the opportunity is in crypto, and to me it's the greatest opportunity that our generation will ever see because it's a game changer, and it's coming on the heels of AI on top of that, right? So we've got two massive technical swings that are happening in the marketplace right now, and the the way that adoption happens is everybody comes into the marketplace with this idea that they're going to make their money first, right? It doesn't draw value creators first, it draws the degens first, right? And we've talked about this a lot in all of the NFT projects out there. And one of the reasons you see these low floor prices because people are coming in to make their money and just sell to anyone, which of course is not what we do. And so when people come in with that mentality that they just want to make money, the slightest variance of an idea becomes a business. And then what you notice is that over time, people start to realize and get wise to the fact that, okay, well, just because this particular business has a slight variance from that business doesn't necessarily make it any better or worse or different. It's just a slight variance in what we're already doing. So do we really need both of them? It's just kind of the question, right? Like, do we need 50 blockchains, 100 blockchains, 1,000 blockchains? Do we need them at all? And the answer is no, we don't. We need probably, 3 to 5 different chains that do 3 to 5 different things. Or maybe we need, 5 or 6 different chains that have 3 or 4 different layers that do certain things on top of them. And when these technologies that have the first mover advantage, like Bitcoin, for example, Ethereum, you could probably throw Solana in there. When you have first mover advantage and you have people who are invested in first mover advantage for years and years and years, they would much rather, like, if you bought Bitcoin in 2009 and you started adding to your holdings and you've been following the story, you'd much rather stick with what you know and see something added to it than you would to have to install another wallet, learn about a new chain, convert your currency to a different token, and then start interacting in that particular token. So that's one of the reasons that Bitcoin had no problem at all, like launching ordinals, like in a huge way, and no problem at all launching runes in a big way, because people were already invested in the chain. It's the oldest chain, and now we've got this extra technology riding on top of it, providing value to people who already held the tokens, the underlying tokens, right? Ethereum came along and said, okay, well, Bitcoin doesn't want to do smart contracts, so we're going to do the Bitcoin type thing. We're even going to do proof of work mining, and we're going to add, smart contracts on top of it so that we can have these little immutable programs running around, right? And then, of course, Ethereum switched to proof of stake, which I think was a huge mistake. And, of course, we've kind of seen it struggle since, but it still remains the world's computer. It's where, like, the upper end of the art world and the upper end of the tech world go to create programs that they want to get in front of people who aren't afraid to pay a $40 transaction fee just to grab a piece of art, right? Or to interact with a program, right? And then Solana came along and said, okay, well, we can do everything Ethereum does, but we can do it faster and we can do it for a penny, right? And then, okay, so that's great. And now you've got the degeneracy that comes into the market because now there's no barrier to entry. So see, on some level, the barrier to entry was a good thing because it kept out the riffraff, which is one of the things we talk about a lot. But, now Solana is growing up, and as the token price continues to increase, the fees are going to increase right along with them because, you're paying in Solana, you're not paying in your local currency. So ultimately, as Solana gets more and more expensive, you'll see more and more of the degeneracy fall by the wayside. So what else do we need, right? We need a chain that's going to provide value, which Bitcoin is already doing that. We need to be able to transact. There's 50,000 chains that are already giving us the ability to transact. The question is how fast and how expensive. We need chains that we can store data on. Well, Ordinals allows us to do that on Bitcoin. We actually have inscriptions on Solana now. We can do the same thing with Ethereum. And so all of these technologies sort of converging now. It's like, well, what could possibly be new? And first mover advantage, the greatest numbers of users, which are going to provide the network effect, and then the amount of difference between the chains are the only reason that they exist. So if we shrink the differences, the chains that are smaller, that don't have first mover advantage, that have less people using them, less of a network effect, these chains all get swallowed up. Everything starts to consolidate. So you see this no matter if it's the gold rush in the 1800s, everybody moving out west, and 50 people setting up a hardware shop to sell shovels to the miners turns into one person selling shovels to miners, or whether it's 50 different chains competing for different value propositions, the ones who actually have first mover advantage and provide real value will be here. The same is true of NFT projects. The same is true of your local hardware store. The same is true of your local convenience store. whichever one is providing the most value, has first mover advantage, or has some sort of unique selling proposition is going to be the one who survive. Everybody else gets swallowed up. And so in our particular project, when we're talking about like long-term value creation and we're looking at the marketplace where we have all of these rugged projects and we have, so much artwork that's dying on the vine, artists who never got paid, and you and I are running around, talking to these people, seeing if we can pick up this artwork, get legal contracts in place, provide IP rights, and bring them under our umbrella. Like that's part of the consolidation. Like you and I are actively participating in consolidation. So we've consolidated right now, what, four different collections under our Goodfellas banner, right? And so this will continue to happen. We're going to continue to acquire collections. There'll be other projects in the NFT sphere who do the same thing, who start to learn, okay, well, the greatest, highest, and best use of blockchain is provenance, ownership, IP rights tracking, and royalties tracking. And we don't need the third-party databases that have been so prevalent in mass media for all these years, right? So I just feel like that this market is no different from any market because you have to realize the actors are still human. AI is not the actor in this market yet. It might be at some point. But right now, as long as the actors are still human, run by human psychology and wetware, then we're going to get human outcomes. And that means that they're looking for greatest value, easiest to use, great UI, low fees, and all for the underlying thing that I want them to have happen, right? So if it's value creation, I'm happy to pay Bitcoin's fees over Ethereum's fees because it's proof of work versus proof of stake. And actually, there's really no contest there. If I'm looking for a programming language riding on top of blockchain, well, right now that's Ethereum. I'm not going to argue that they don't do it better than anyone yet. If I'm looking for lower fees and quality work and the potential for a great business use case and databases, I'm looking at Solana, you know, and as we've been doing recently, what's happening with Cosmos and our invitation to create artwork on that chain. There's a great community growing around specific use case of artwork dropping on Stargaze. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And so now we have an opportunity to look at a specific use case for Stargaze, which is again on a different chain, but it's they're actively seeking and attracting high quality artists and buyers and collectors, and that's who we are and what we want to be around. So as those target markets sort of shrink and get more narrowed and focused, yeah, I think everything consolidates. Most blockchains will fail. Most tokens, I'd say 99.9% of them, all go to zero. And it'll be just an interesting part of history where we got to this place where I finally identified the most valuable parts of blockchain. So that's kind of my long soapbox speech on market psychology and consolidation, bud. What are you seeing? Does that make any sense to you on your end?
Yeah, definitely, man. You pretty much nailed it. But I like that you also made like the transfer to the NFT space because that's what I thought about immediately. Like most people, most of the people from our community remember that when we started with the project back in April 23, I think, we were actually a group of three. And the third guy who was with us was basically all the time telling us how things need to be. He was like, this is a D-Rug, and like when you have a D-Rug, you need to airdrop everything to its former holders. You need to run giveaways. You need to like give people free shit. Do this, do that. Like just do the same thing that everyone does. And you and I, we were the guys who actually wanted to take a different path. We invented like the badge mints. We invented the artist incubator. We acquired collections and everything. And I feel like that's what you need. And you already mentioned it when you talked about the blockchains that there are like people like blockchains try to make like small changes and try to sell that as some sort of USP. But I feel like you need to do better. You need to do like completely different to what's out there. And I felt like we did a great job so far. I think we are like one of the communities that cares like the most about its about its community, like about the people who are in the project. And I feel like we did a great way choosing them. I mean, Big shout outs, for example, to Bilo and STC. I mean, they're not here yet. They might listen to the recording. They have been they've done a tremendous job on like posting everything about Goodfellas this week, spreading the word and everything. And that's the kind of people we are looking for. And as I said, we did a great job so far. We keep doing that. We keep building like the greatest community, like hopefully. And yeah, this is my 2 cents.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's, I mean, not to get too crazy and start, you know, tooting our own horn here, but I mean, I think there's something to be of note here, because when you go into the market and you start to do anything different, the first thing that happens is there's resistance. There's massive, massive resistance to what you're doing. And what I've seen in pretty much every NFT project, for example, especially along the art side of things, is I see people who claim to be artists or who claim to want to be artists focus more on whether or not they're selling their pieces rather than just creating. And I think people forget that these are two different skill sets, right? So creating artwork and selling artwork are two different skill sets. And the creator is generally not the best salesperson. The salesperson is generally not the best artist. And so finding those two qualities in the same person is often very difficult to do. And obviously, I am a huge, huge, huge art lover. If you've picked up any of our pieces, you know that we literally take the time to go through and get past the computer generated stuff and do a lot of it by hand, which has been very much more work. So we're putting in the quality aspect of it, but that only matters if you have people who appreciate it. And I think this is what you were touching on. So when it comes to the word community, I think this is one of those words that's tossed around in Web3 a lot that doesn't really, um, I think that people misunderstand what it means. When a founder often uses the word community, what they're meaning is people I can sell stuff to. That's literally what they mean, rather than people I can provide value to and build long-term relationships with over a period of time. And so I think a lot of times what I would really love to see is, rather than people throwing big words around that have massive implications for the long run that are basically being used as a marketing ploy, I would rather see these words deeply understood by the people in the marketplace and the people inside the Discord servers and inside the Twitter spaces. I would rather see these words deeply understood and held in high esteem. So if I say something like like one of my roles is, one of my jobs is to provide value to holders. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, that means every time someone floors one of our pieces, or every time someone, dumps or wants to dump something, that I have a responsibility there to make sure that I'm one of the people in the marketplace defending that, right? Defending the community against that. It needs to make sure that the value system that we put forth in terms of like being transparent and honest, making sure that artists are paid, making sure that royalties are, locked into the system, making sure that the artwork is legally ours and that we can legally guarantee IP rights if they're ever challenged, that I'm there to defend that. And I'm there to defend good people doing good things in the marketplace, right? Which is obviously the double entendre of Goodfellas to begin with. So I think understanding the implications is often lost. And what I see, especially around the words like, community and this and that and the other thing, what I see is people just using it as a marketing ploy. And, whether or not you say good morning or not, okay, that doesn't necessarily create a relationship. It's like, okay, well, do you actually care if this person is harmed in real life? Do you care if this person's, life is in order? Do you care if this person wants to share with you on a deeper level? Will you accept the DMs? Will you get on a voice call with them? Will you actually touch base with them? So like these are things that I've done to everyone in our community who's been willing, and we've been able to start building relationships. We've got years old relationships now, people that we brought in, from mint all the way through to one-on-one sales. I've had individual conversations with them, live conversations with them. And, we're a small community that continues to expand and look for people who care about real value, not just in the NFTs or the artwork, but also in the relationships. And I think that's one of the things that I really, really, if I could just wave a magic wand and add a healthy dose to Web3, that's what it would be. Because on a lot of levels, not really knowing who you're dealing with or not really speaking with who, the person really is, but dealing with some, random anonymous individual, while there are reasons to be that way, it's not necessarily the best way to actually get to know someone. And I think it creates a lot of loneliness. So one of the things that we're doing in terms of, that difference piece is we're actually available. People know who we are, know where we are, can contact us anytime. And we're happy to jump on calls and speak with people. And, hopefully I get to invite people to my house at some point. Hopefully if they're traveling through Phoenix, they can pop by. But yeah, I mean, I would really love to see the community deliver on its promises on a really deep way. And when I say the community, I mean the Web3 community as a whole, rather than just being a place where, it's pump dump, or even worse, where it's, pump, steal from a bunch of holders and run away, which is kind of what we came into. And we've basically, built a value system around not being that. So I mean, when you were talking, these were just some of the ideas that were coming to mind for me. I'm obviously open to other people's thoughts and opinions if anyone wants to speak on that. But I really feel like that there's a human element that's missing on a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, there's a quality element that's missing in a lot of ways. There's a an element of understanding human psychology and real scarcity missing in a lot of ways. And so when it comes to values, I mean, these are some of the things that, you and I have had a lot of conversations about actively injecting back into what we're doing. So kind of where my head is on that thought.
Yeah, man, couldn't agree more on that. Oh, but by the way, I'm traveling to the United States next month and haven't received an invitation to your house yet, man. Just saying. But yeah, looking at my notepad, I actually have another big topic that I wanted to talk about, but we are over 50 minutes in, so saving that for the podcast. Let's jump a little bit into our near future plans. You mentioned it already. We have a Stargaze drop that is coming out in mid-September, and we have another drop of the Artist Incubator from the Under the Veil series from Daria. We haven't really decided on a date yet, but yeah, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Stargaze drop first.
Yeah, for sure. So we had Brady on last week, I think it was this time, or was it Monday? I forget. Monday or whatever day it was. And, like we were talking earlier, how chains are beginning to, specialize in what they do and create value for specific communities. Stargaze is, I think, doing a really good job of actively onboarding creators and collectors. And so we've actually won a grant from Stargaze to create on, I guess it's technically from Adam, but we've won a grant from Adam to create on Stargaze. So the next collection that we're going to drop, or the next batch that we're going to drop, is actually going to be on Stargaze. And of course, all of our boss holders, you guys are going to have first dibs. The chain works a little bit differently in terms of how we can gate it. So we might get a little bit more degeneracy in there than normal. But by the same token, I think the community there is a little bit more sensitive to high quality work. And so we're stoked to be able to at least test that. And it looks like what we're going to do, based on some of the responses that we got inside my question about which pieces, is we're going to finally drop some female form on Stargaze. So we're stoked to drop female form. We have two female bosses in the collection right now. And of course, we're sitting on a entire collection of female form. And so we're stoked to be able to go ahead and confirm to you guys that it will be a female form collection in our art style. And we're really looking forward to dropping that on Stargaze. And of course, we'll have more details as we get closer and closer. But the date is going to be set at September 20th, if I believe correctly, or if I remember correctly. So that's pretty stoked. pretty stoked for that. And yeah, so that just means there's a lot of work to do between now and September 20th to get the female forum stuff ready to go. But it should be good times. And I mean, as far as like the artwork goes and in terms of response, I mean, I think the female pieces that we've shown so far have been probably two of the most, sought after pieces. Obviously, with each batch, we do, fresh ranks, we do a brand new one of one, and obviously the 21s are one of one pieces, basically, numbered prints. So we do have quite a few one of ones that people really love, but I feel like the female form is really something that needs to be spotlighted because of the fact that inside the collection with the two bosses that we have right now, I keep getting DMs for people trying to buy the one that I hold. So I think there's going to be a pretty fair amount of excitement around getting the female form out. And yeah, like Brady seems to be super cool. I met one of the other team members with Stargaze, who also seems super cool. We had a call, like a separate call, and just started working out some of the details and picked some dates that we felt like would work. And yeah, so we're gonna go and drop females first on Stargaze, and I think we're gonna do a 210 piece collection. Keeping with the 21 theme, like honoring that 21, that sort of homage to Bitcoin and its 21 million. So 210 pieces is the initial plan, female form. And so there's just a lot of artwork to go through and prep between now and then. So that's kind of the 10,000 foot view of what's happening there. But I'm grateful to Brady and to the Adam Foundation for giving us an opportunity. And yeah, you should be seeing a lot of promo for that coming up very, very soon.
Yeah, man, exactly. I'm looking forward to that. And in addition to that, we will also have the third Under the Veil series drop from Daria, which is going to be called Freedom. Yeah, we haven't really decided on a date yet. We are not sure if it's going to drop before or after the Stargaze batch drop. But yeah, Daria, shout outs to her. She did a tremendous job on promoting the last drop, and yeah, that was great, and I think people loved it. And yeah, so a lot to come, and I think we are good for today. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to just throw the mic over to Caden. I invited him to come into the spaces today. I know that he's been doing quite a bit of artwork with, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Caden, but I believe it's with your son. So feel free to step up to the mic, man, and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing. We'd love to showcase you and what's happening in your world.
Sure. Yeah, sorry, I just needed to get my little one tucked in and do bedtime story and all those things. This is actually Caden's dad, Nico speaking. I don't really allow my 9-year-old to hang around on Twitter Spaces because I just don't see it fitting. But yeah, my little one is, well, number one, he is autistic. Creating is kind of his tick, if you want to put it that way. Kaiden, unlike most kids, he doesn't watch television. He can't care less about a phone. He doesn't worry if we have power or not, and he doesn't care if the internet works or not. He literally just wants to paint. That's how he starts his day. That's how he ends his day. And yeah, to keep a long story short, we originally came into the NFT space about 3 years ago. And the mission with coming in here was to raise the funding at that stage, which was needed to get our little guy back in school. Now, we are from South Africa. Our public school systems suck super badly. They don't cater to kids like Caden. And if you want to send your kid who's got special needs to school here in South Africa, you are left with the private sector. Now, I know it doesn't matter where in the world you're from, that costs an arm and a leg. And we pretty much got to a point where we couldn't cope anymore. We couldn't afford it. We had to make some really, really hard life decisions very quickly. And the biggest one was roof over our heads or little one in school. Unfortunately, every little one needs a place to call home. They need somewhere where they feel safe, where they feel loved. And so the decision was made to take Caden out of school at that point. I am luckily married to a incredible woman who absolutely never, ever, ever says die. Does not matter how bad the situation is. And after a lot of research, we ended up here. Now, Caden's been painting since he was 2, and that initially started because he was nonverbal. So art was used as a tool to give him skills to communicate with everything and everyone around him. So he's not stopped painting since. Last year alone, he created over 6,000 physical pieces. I don't know how much we have this year already. So yeah, we've come to NFT Switzerland. We've built a phenomenal community behind him. NFTs are currently keeping Caden in school. They pay for all his therapies. They pay for the massive art supply bill that I get every month. And we've also gotten to a stage where we've started giving back. So it's not just about Caden anymore. We've raised funding through his art for Autism South Africa, which is one of the biggest autistic charities here in South Africa. He's got a piece which has been curated by Christie's Auction House, and that will be put up on auction at Art Basel in December. And all the funds that we raise through that will be donated to St. Jude to help with what they're doing there. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I should probably also mention that I absolutely love Stargaze. Caden does have 2 collections on there. And you are definitely in very good hands with that team. They are absolutely phenomenal. And for anyone who's stressing how they're going to mint on there, they've got a amazing built-in bridge into their platform, so you can pretty much bridge from any EMF chain onto Stargaze, get stars, and then go mint whatever you want to mint. But yeah, that pretty much covers what I wanted to say.
Fantastic, brother. You know what? And I knew that. I knew that your name was Nico because I've been on enough spaces to know that, so I apologize. My brain is not quite working. But yes, I appreciate you sharing, and we we greatly appreciate the story and also the production that you're sharing from Caden, what he's putting out. I had an opportunity to breeze through your timeline. I think on the last basis, you were telling us a little bit about it, and there's some really cool work on there, man. I really appreciate you sharing all that. And maybe if you or Caden are open to it, you could talk with Alex, who's sitting on the Goodfellas handle right now. My buddy Alex is in Germany. He basically onboards artists who want to do like limited runs for us. And what we do is we have what we call an artist incubator. And what we'll bring in and showcase an artist to drop 21 pieces. There's individual pieces 1 through 21, just like you would find at a print gallery, at a high-end art print gallery, or I'm sorry, high-end art gallery where an artist was signing prints. We have 1 through 21. Each print is numbered individually, and the last one, the number 21, is signed. And we offer these to our community on a very limited basis, so there'd only ever be 21 prints of that one particular piece. So if that's something that you or he would be interested in participating with, definitely connect with Alex and find out some more information, and maybe we can get some of his pieces on Solana.
I will definitely do that. I just would have to first discuss that with Caden. He's got full say in how and where he collaborates. We don't get involved with anything artistically he does. So every single collaboration he's done in the space was because he decided he wanted to do it. He's also said no to quite a bunch of them. But no, I will definitely do that. I just need to ask why the number 21. And the reason why I'm asking that is, yeah, my little one has got a thing for the number 5 and number 8 for some reason.
The number 21 is an homage to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the granddaddy of all chains, and there's a maximum supply of 21 million Bitcoin. So we employ the nomenclature of 21 in a lot of what we do. Some of our roles are handed out in multiples of sevens, so like sevens, 14s, 21s. And this is just basically an homage to the history of what started it all out of respect for that.
Oh wow, okay, that's very, very cool. No, thank you for sharing that with me because he is going to ask why 21. Uh, I can kind of explain why. But I'll speak to him and then I'll reach out to Alex if he's interested. Then yeah, we can see maybe you guys can do something together with my little one. That will actually be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be very cool. And if since he has an affinity, you said for 5 and what other number?
The number 5 and the number 8. We've asked a million times why those two numbers, and it's just always because I like them. So I don't really know why, but he's got a thing for those two.
Oh, I love that. Because I like them just is the ultimate form of freedom. And I appreciate the fact that he is so honest and can say that. Maybe with maybe if we do end up collaborating on 21's collection inside the artist incubator, maybe he could do signatures on 5 and 8. Maybe that's one idea.
You will absolutely make his day every time you can do that. No, definitely. I will speak to him in the morning, and yeah, then I'll reach out to you guys. I'll send a DM to the account anyway now, so it is in my DMs. And then yeah, we can see what he does there. He does actually have quite a lot of stuff on Solana. I'm absolutely in love with the chain. We've been building on it for 3 years now, through thick and thin. Um, I think Solana is probably the chain where he's having the most fun because he's got a drip house channel where he can actually curate it the way he wants it, and he just gets to share all his stuff with the thousands of people who for some reason decided they want to follow him. So yeah, he's having a lot of fun in Solana, and so am I.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, and I mean, his story is so strong. I can't imagine someone not wanting to follow him, brother. So, yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, definitely see if he'd be interested. We get no's. We get 1,000 no's for every yes. So if he turns us down, we won't cry for too long.
Awesome. I will definitely reach out. But guys, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, for sure. We're here every Friday if you want to pop by. I'd love to follow the story and continue to get to know you and and what's going on in your world. We're over here. I'm over here in Phoenix, Arizona. You said you're in South Africa. I think Alex is just outside Cologne, Germany. So it's kind of interesting to be able to connect with different people and different cultures around the world and just see what's going on in their part of the world. So thank you for being here, brother.
Once again, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I will definitely pop in next Friday again.
Cool deal. I just had a request from what is it, MGBM? I'm not sure if you wanna pop up and just say hello and tell us what's going on in your world, my friend.
Yeah, hi there. Yeah, obviously I like to share certain things. I love to do NFT and research crypto. Obviously, Nico is a absolute OG. What he's done is legendary. Obviously, just look at his art from Caden, and sorry, I've just sort of just laid down, and it's not a good position for me. I just get up. Yeah, my mission, if you want to see, it's that I rhyme online all the time. And I love the wacky races of doing the spaces and stuff like that a couple of years ago. And then I've changed the way I flow, what I grow, and what I put on show. So yeah, that's me. I just like to know or see what's going on. What have you got guys going on the rise? Obviously, Archer and Goodfellas. I'm just giving you a follow and obviously say a proper hello.
Awesome, brother. Awesome, brother. Do you go by MGBM or is there a name behind the account that you want to share?
Most people that are like OG know me as Beanie, like Doodlegenics and Riyadh and Savage. A lot of space hosts and stuff like that know me the most, like Matthew Bronzetta and people like that. But I come and go sort of with my own flow. But yeah, Beanie is part of sort of like MGBM Artworks, is Mr. Green Bean Machine, because a lot of my friends call me Bean Machine. Some people call me MG. It's a little bit crazy because I've obviously done it for a few years, and many people have different ideas of who I am, because the plan is to like explore like many different core mindsets, and going a bit insane, use the monkey brain, do a bit of critical thinking, and actually be linking in other things, and get ideas floating and stop the market sinking and people's spirits. We've got to rise all together and see that obviously there's no surprise that next year crypto is going to come alive in 25. It's going to be the prize. The media are just going to feed you all sorts of stuff to mislead you, and it's just like be part of the Web3 community, because there's some people that are like really clever and they never are going to give in, and that's why Web3 and all of the things that are going on with like crypto and that and NFT are here. Like now it's starting to begin to get traction again, and people are starting to take action with like what they should be investing in, and the best things start to begin to start lifting again. And it's a gift. Like what's going to come is going to be really fun. Obviously 2021, like where I began, was exciting to see, but I was like absolute newbie. I didn't know anything, like hadn't done my research, so I started looking and booking what I could do. My idea was obviously to find the smartest of artists that did appear, and it's clear that like there's certain people that steer like through the like ice and break it all up. They're the icebreakers. Nico, like I bought in 2022, about January, no, it was a few months later. It's about March that I bought one of Caden's little hands in 22, because I had no issue with the amount of effort and time he was online, so telling the story, obviously. And I'd started selling NFT, and I assured in me that if I was making money, that I would not take profit. I'd start to support anybody that I believed in. And I'm relieved that he's done everything that he needed to do to get Caden obviously the medication, get him to school. It's been absolutely cool that it's come through NFTs, and that's a story of like something that's like everyone's like, it should be in the newspapers. That should be the news. That's the good news. Like that should be all around the world, sort of shared more, for sure. Anyway, if you explore the fact that I could do this with no limit, so you always have to go, hold on a minute, stop, and like, yeah, because honestly, like I do have an issue where I don't know where to stop.
That's not a problem, my friend. I enjoy listening to you tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey. You're always welcome to join us, man. We're here every Friday, so feel free to pop in. Sounds like, are you coming out of the UK? Am I picking up a UK accent there?
Yeah, I'm from a place called High Wycombe that's near London, but I lived up north, so I sort of High Wycombe's very central, and it's a commuter town. So what we have around the area is there should be a Bucks accent, which I don't have. I have a little bit of a northern twang, but a little bit of the southerner as well. It's like my accent's like absolute hell. There's no local dialect. It's just sort of like a bit of a select of here and there and everywhere. So yeah, it is proper UK accent. Like there's no English in it, and there's no like regional, because Northerners are much more slower and deeper, and yeah, Southerners actually usually more hyper and like got a lot more energy in what they say. They're like proper like, and London can be Cockney or it can be very posh. So yeah, it's Midlands, middle, southern, east, mixed in a weird way. Yeah.
I love it, brother. I love it, man. I came from the South here in the US, and so everything that we do is a little bit slower. So I appreciate you slowing it down so I could pick it up. Very nice, man. Yeah, so I just popped on your profile while you were speaking, and it looks like you have a little bit of information about doing some writing, doing some artwork. You want to tell us a little bit about what your primary focus is, some of the things that interest you? It looks like you're a deep thinker. I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so when I started to even dare making NFTs, I was already like exploring my writing journey, and something had started to like pretty upset me, mess my head up, and I was in a little bit of stress. Basically, like my quest with writing the Rhymes of the Times, which was a emotional roadmap to come back that was abstract, and it was all about follow the flow. I'd already let go of reality. I absolutely lost it with trying to sell NFT in 21. I'd begun trying on a marketplace called Air NFT. I thought I had the world's best, greatest story ever to unfold, and I thought like this is going to be worth more than pure gold. Each NFT that I was minting was like was on a roll call. So Air NFT, like each it was pay per mint. So what would happen was you get a number on it, and I was like minting before 100,000 NFTs been minted on that marketplace. So I was like at a race trying to do stuff, and then it threw me off completely when I started to rhyme. Like at the first time I started to rhyme, I was doing blogs about crypto. I was following the flow of crypto. I was doing blogs about it. I started going like, you want to have hot and dot in your pot and not a lot because it would drop. Expect like, you know, when you want to shop is that if you buy small amounts, it all counts to where you do dare. And obviously after using up all my spare time and learning to rhyme, I learned about November, December pumps, learned about crypto winter and sprinter will splinter and it will do the two halvings. And then, you know, starving all the way through what I view what already the rhymes that I'd picked up was such a touch, because then in 23 in January I was like, oh my god, look at how low like some have come in the flow. And then by October obviously Polkadot did show coming below £3, which was like, that sound, this is what I wanted to have found here. And like, you know, it took 2 years, but like I had no fears when the market was crashing and all that. I was just sort of ideas flashing through my mind, find all-time low, and then I know that like if tomorrow I'm like, rather than have to go borrow some money off someone, I can just withdraw something with profit on. And I only did that because I went wrong in 21. I'd begun in the pumps buying, made profit, taking bits off it, and then seeing things rocket, and then started just losing it. And then it was like, this is the pumps. Oh dear! Like, but then I was like, I have no fear, because it was not like I need the money like desperately there. And then yeah, basically I saw the dip in 21, and that begun to set me off because somebody went and robbed all the tools out my van. I'm a gardener, and it changed the way I'd plan the rest of my life, because the strife that caused me put me on a knife edge. I stuck to a pledge that with my own hands I'll make something profitable with value, and that's how I realised I developed a major issue. I'd had a mental breakdown in 2020 because of PTSD blackout that I had, and that sort of sent me mad. And I'm glad that it did, because you know I found my inner child and I stopped going wild. I become this mild, like way of like, how do I save my pay? How do I play with actually like pay myself forward and develop a financial record where I've got a bit of a portfolio. I know what I want to grow first. To me, I was like, some people like crypto's the worst, and I'm like, no, if you're like desperately wanting to build a profit, go for the most volatile. No denial in that you can make millions of pounds. That's how I had to change my way, because I could make pay from day trading. That thing was what made me start just seeing in a different way, was how easy you can make pay from day trading. I didn't want to make my money that way. I want to be a master gardener, and I want to learn art and writing. So those were the exciting things that I was going to do in like 10 years as a hobby. But obviously it appears that my mental breakdown psycho decided that I was going to go with the flow, and show that like I got in a first edition of a magazine that's still going from 3 years ago, and in exhibits and stuff like that, that I was like, no, I've been an artist for like since starting NFTs in May 21. So like to me, it's dumb that I was getting offered and asked to do things that are way beyond my years, way beyond my expertise. Like, please, like, see that my rhymes are like was a disease that I did tease. It's unconditional thinking. It's from manic depression, and every expression has helped me grow stronger the longer that I've carried on. So I've just turned everything into a song and just had a melody that was my therapy. Find the poison and you will find the remedy. And I've had to speak clearly to some adults, like their children, for what they've done, and some have made apologies, and some they unfortunately that what they did, they destroyed themselves. They're on their knees for what they did. So I never hid what, like, I always believe: be kind, find the kindness, find the light, treat everyone as like your friend, even somebody that in the end was your enemy. Just see that their trauma, their problems make them vulnerable, and just be the cool one that just like, yeah, no, we all do dumb things, test our luck. And if you struck a wrong chord, explore that, don't be bored and just say sorry and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I bring many things with what I write. Obviously ideas take flight, and I go all day and all night.
Awesome, man. Very cool. Thanks for sharing all that, brother. It was really cool to hear some of your rhymes come through in your speech there. Appreciate you sharing all that. It's one of the things that I really appreciate about this space and getting to know people in different spots is the various ways that they bring their creativity to life. This space has really opened up so many avenues for everyone to sort of show off their unique skills and talents and some of the things that they've developed, over the years. And so, thanks, Beanie. I appreciate you bringing light to the conversation, brother. You definitely have some serious rhyming skills. All right, fellas. That said, I know we're creeping up on the end here. If anybody wants to chime in before we jump off, be sure and throw up a hand. I know Alex, who was on the Goodfellas handle, had to step away because we went over time just a little bit. Not a big deal. But we'll be here every Friday on Mint Mob Spaces, promoting good things with good people, doing our best to bring good things to life in the NFT world and in the world of Web3. And feel free to join us. Throw us a follow. We'll follow you back. And anyone in your world that you feel is bringing good things to life, spread the word, bring them in. And let's see if we can continue to bring good people together and continue to spread light in the space, guys. So that said, I'll go ahead and just thank everybody for being here, from Alex to Nico to Beanie, we just met, to guest user Rob, Johnny, Soulflux, we didn't get to hear from you, but maybe next time, Julian. So that said, guys, we'll see you in the next spaces on Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody.